What's up, y'all? The divisional round of the playoffs are here. You're probably already neck deep, drafting your best ball teams or prepping for DFS. And with that in mind, I've spent the last day and a half in the utilization bunker, and we have two wide receivers that are trending in a positive direction that we have got to discuss. First, let's talk about Jamar Chase. I know you don't need me to tell you that Jamar Chase is a really good wide receiver. However, one thing we see that most of the very top receivers have in common, they're the clear-cut number one on their team. That is what pushed Jamar Chase behind names like Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp this summer in drafts. However, things could be changing in Cincinnati, so let's consult the utilization data and see what it says about the recent battle between T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So let's dive into the utilization data, and if we look since week 13, when Jamar Chase returned from injury, he has a 34% target share versus 18% for Higgins. That is quite a spread. If we want to look at the year-long data and we want to exclude the games where the players were hurt, all we have to do is look at targets per route run. That's the beauty of that data point. It only looks at the time the player is on the field. A 25% targets per route run for Jamar Chase and 18% for T. Higgins. And then finally, we can look at the PFF receiving grade. Both receivers have performed well, quality players. However, Jamar Chase is ahead again with a PFF receiving grade of 84.5 versus 78.2 for T. Higgins. And oh, by the way, that 84 PFF receiving grade, if we look at Jamar Chase, he is one of only 4 wide receivers since 2011 to eclipse that mark in both his rookie and sophomore campaigns. That list: Justin Jefferson, Michael Thomas, Odell Beckham Jr., and Mike Evans. That is very elite company. Not to mention, we also have a wide receiver playing on a pass-first offense. If you look at the Bengals, they throw the ball 12 percentage points above the NFL average whenever they are in neutral game scripts at 72%. So you've got a great quarterback, you've got a very talented wide receiver starting to separate into his own tier as the wide receiver one on his team that loves to throw the ball. So if you're drafting over on Underdog heading into the weekend, whether it's the Mitten or the Gauntlet, you're going to be playing in 6-team leagues. And the beauty of it is if you're picking at the end of the first round, you can start with Joe Burrow at pick 5. You can get Jamar Chase potentially coming back. Doesn't always come back around the turn, but that's okay. If you do miss Chase coming back in the 3rd round, you can still get Joe Mixon. You can still get T. Higgins. If you land Chase, you start with your 3 Bengals right there. And then coming back in the 4th round, you can start your NFC side of the build. Maybe you want to go with the Eagles because you think they're the favorites. You can get Miles Sanders. Maybe you're more into the Cowboys. You could get CeeDee Lamb. Or you just want to go more contrarian. You think there's an upset in the making with the Giants over the Eagles. You can take Saquon Barkley. And remember, over on Underdog, if you use the promo code LIFE, you can get up to a $100 deposit match. So now let's talk about the second wide receiver. Also resides in a high-flying pass-first offense with the Buffalo Bills. It is Gabriel Davis. I get it. Hasn't necessarily lived up to expectations in the fantasy universe this year, averaging 12.3 fantasy points. Yeah, that's a low-end wide receiver 3, not what we paid for in drafts. He's even started to break out at points this season, shown us some nice target shares. We got all excited, and then what happened? It all really fell out from under us. So I get it. He's a tough player to trust, but we've got to look at the recent trends. We have to at least take note of them. And there are several factors here that are lining up that point to Davis crushing it for the rest of the playoffs. Number 1, Gabriel Davis is leading the Buffalo Bills in target share over the last 3 games at 27%. Yes, Gabriel Davis, not Stephon Diggs. Now, as we discussed before, there could be some regression with this number. Davis is not a historical target earner, more like an 18% kind of guy. So things could settle down a little bit for him. However, the next 2 factors that we're going to talk about are really going to help insulate Davis from a major drop-off in fantasy production, even if that happens. So point number 2 is the increase in average depth of target for Gabriel Davis over the last 3 games is sitting at a 19.2. We had actually seen a 6-game stretch where after Josh Allen injured his elbow, it had dropped down to 15.3. What this means, he has a chance to lead the team still in air yards. In layman's terms, he can come up with big plays that can help offset any potential regression in his targets. And the final point being the Bills offense. It's a great environment to be in. Even if you regress to an 18%, 20% target share, the fact that the Bills love to throw the ball so much, that's actually worth more than a wide receiver that might get 23, 24% of the targets in an offense that wants to run the ball all the time. In fact, when you look at the Bills in neutral game scripts or leading game scripts, they rank number 2 in the NFL in pass rate. So in summary, we've got a wide receiver that's been earning more targets. Yes, he could regress, but his average depth of target is up, bringing the big playability back together. And then finally, we are in an offense that loves to throw the ball, and we've got an elite quarterback in Josh Allen delivering the ball. So if we look at Gabe Davis over on Underdog, he goes in the 3rd round. Right now his ADP is at pick 16. And remember, these are 6-team drafts, so 12 is the end of round 2. And there's a couple of ways that you can play this. You start off with Josh Allen. You're typically taking him and pick 1, 2, or 3. Very, very, very lucky if you happen to get Stephon Diggs fall back. I personally haven't seen that happen. If it happens for you, you're absolutely going to pounce on it. But if not, you've got a decision to make. Do you want to go ahead and secure Gabe Davis in the 2nd round, or do you want to wait until the 3rd round? If someone like A.J. Brown is there, an elite option from the NFC side of the ball, I typically will go with Brown there. Now I've got my setup. I've got Josh Allen, the Bills on the AFC side. I'm starting to set up my Eagles stack with Brown on the NFC side. I want that matchup to occur in the Super Bowl. And then coming back in the 3rd round, I'm going to take Gabriel Davis. Of course, you're going to manage it based on other rosters that you've already built, what you're trying to ultimately accomplish, but there's a lot of flexibility with how you can handle that 2-3 turn and how Gabriel Davis fits, even if you don't have Josh Allen. He can be a great option. Maybe you went Jalen Hurts and came back with A.J. Brown. That makes Gabriel Davis a great option on the AFC side of the ball still as your 3rd pick.